Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kabelo, and the purpose of this channel is to offer you with some career advice. Okay, so today's session we are going to talk about drafting your CV with no work experience, no employment history. So first things first, before we get into that, let's do a bit of theory. Then I think it's important for us to understand what CV is. Okay, the term curriculum vitae is a Latin phrase which means one's course of life. Okay, but in this instance, we are not going to focus on every aspect of your life. However, we are only going to focus on your education as well as your employment aspects of life. So we have three types. We have the functional, the reverse, chronological, as well as the combined. And we are going to make use of the combined CV type. Okay. So first things first, guys. Before you apply for a post, don't be that person who only sees the job title, sees the person whom the CV must be forwarded to, and the closing date. You must first read and understand your advert. Read the job description, read what they require, read and understand your job advert. And additionally, you must go to the company's website and try to understand what they are about. Okay, you are try to understand their culture, so that you can also determine, or for yourself, if you would like to be part of that company, or if you can excel in that company amongst many other things. So try to understand the type of organizational culture that the company have, and this will honestly help you draft your CV, as well as you using the advert. It will contribute a whole lot. So other things that I want to talk about, or first, is that there are three fonts that you can use when writing a CV. You can choose between Arial, Calibri, as well as Times New Roman. Okay, and you can only choose one, and you can choose to write them with either font size 11 or 12. Okay, so let me not waste any more time. Let's get into the practicality of it.
Okay, guys, so now we are going to move to the first section of our CV, which is the personal details section. And please know that throughout this video, I'm just going to paste in the sections and not write them out. Also note that later on, we are going to make use of an advert, just so I can practically show you guys what is meant when I say that you must read and understand your advertisement. So yeah, this is just this is all there is to your personal details, guys. We don't really want to know whether you are married or whether you are single, how many kids you have. That's not really important. What's important is your name, your surname, your address, your contact details, being your mobile. If you do have a landline at home, you can include that, as well as your email address. Now, please note that your mobile number must have spaces in between, just so it can be, visually appealing. And also, please note that your email address must not be hyperlinked, because when recruiters print your CV, your email address will not be visible. And what I mean by hyperlink, I mean this: it must not be underlined and blue. It must just be like that. And I promise you guys, this is all there is to your personal details section, and you are ready to go. Remember, with the CV, we are aiming for a 2-page CV. And thus, if you are going to add things like your marital status, your age, your ID number, it's just going to take up too much space, and those details don't really help the recruiter see you as a fit for the job. So remember, also one important thing about a CV is that you are trying to make the recruiter see that you are the perfect fit for the job. So, okay, guys, now we are going to look at the personal profile section. And just before we look at the section, remember in the beginning I said that you need to read and understand your advert before you can even attempt to, to write up your CV. So I'm just going to pause this video so that you can read the advert that I have here, and we will discuss once you are done reading it. Okay, so now that you are done reading it, I'm just going to explain to you what a personal profile is. It is a brief statement at the beginning of a CV which outlines your key personal characteristics. A personal profile must also not be more than 4 to 5 lines. Okay, and it must be written in third-person voice and not in first-person voice. This is so because third-person voice, it's more professional than writing in writing up your personal profile in first-person voice. So now looking at the advert, okay, let me just paste my personal profile there. I'm just going to paste all the components of the CV, because if I type them, it's just going to take time. So for instance, this personal profile, the person says a hardworking and highly motivated BCom human resource management graduate, passionate about her studies and enthusiastic about the future, possesses good interpersonal and communication skills and the ability to develop and maintain mutually beneficial relationships. Seeking an internship opportunity which will assist in establishing and aiding the advancement of her career. So the letters in the personal profile highlighted in green are the letters taken from the first paragraph of the advert, as you can see. So sometimes, unfortunately, the advert will not state that we are looking for a motivated, passionate, and has desire for career advancement. So in that instance, you have to analyze. You have to read what they want and analyze it. And you, like I said in the beginning, that you must read about the company on their website in order to understand, amongst many other things, their culture. And reading their culture will help you to understand what kind of values and what kind of behaviors and what kind of personalities are required for you to work in that organization, and also to compare if you are that kind of person. So let me first give you the layout of a personal profile. A personal profile consists of 3 sections. So I'm just going to explain it now. So you see here, the first aspect of a personal profile would be an introduction of yourself, along with your qualification, and also you'd also like to mention whether you are still studying or you have obtained that qualification. And secondly, it consists of speaking further more about yourself. Here the person says passionate about her studies and enthusiastic about the future. And then you can further again talk more about yourself and the qualities that you possess. So here, communication skills and interpersonal skills, as well as the ability to develop relationships. And the last aspect of a personal profile consists of the objective of the CV. Now, I know this does not make sense to say, why should I include the objective in a CV? I mean, the recruiter is going to receive it. They know what the CV is for. But an objective, by you stating the objective, you are giving a declaration of what your future intentions are. So, and if you do that, the recruiter will perceive that as being somebody who is goal orientated or a driven person. So that gives that also adds, another quality of you without even having to say it. So the green ones here, I just want to go back to the advert. The green ones, they have told us what they want. Sometimes they will not, so you have to read. So here they said, and from reading you can see, okay, they want somebody who's going to work in various departments. So they want somebody who's gonna, who's going to rotate. So when you rotate, you have to have agility or adaptability. You must be a fast learner as well, because rotations, they might, depending on the number of departments they have in a year, you might rotate 4 to 5 times. And also here, you also have to analyze working with committed and highly qualified people. Then you must have good communication skills. So that's what we mean when we say you must read and understand an advert. And from there, you can understand, let's say they did not mention this part. It was only the blue ones. So from there, you are able to say, okay, these are the qualities that the company wants. This is the culture in the company. So that will help you to write up your personal profile. Okay. And sometimes you might feel, for instance, that you are not as motivated, you are not motivated, you are not a passionate person. Then you can go onto the internet. You can search for positive adjectives. And also, yes, please notice that the personal profile is written in third voice, and also you describe yourself making use of adjectives. Okay, so words like motivated, passionate, desire, those are adjectives that you must use. And so if you are struggling to write your personal profile, you can write a long version, write up until you can't write anymore, and then just structure it. But remember, like I said, first you introduce yourself along with the qualifications that you have or have obtained. Your highest qualification, and then you speak more about the qualities that you possess. You can do this in 2 sentences, and then lastly you speak, you can write about your objective. Third section of the CV, and that is the education. Now you can see in the advert, it says that down below, it requires someone who has a degree in HRM or any related field. Any related field could be qualifications in the commercial sides of the world, for instance, your business management and your economics, okay, and many others. So I'm just going to paste again your education section. Okay, education section makes use of the reverse chronological order. Okay, and what that means is that you put what you started with at the bottom, and you put your highest qualification at the top. So let's start down here. So down here at the very bottom, you will have, let me just do this.
at the very bottom, you will have your high school. But also please note that high school is, it's very optional. You don't have to include it if you feel like it's just going to take up more space than you need, because remember, we are aiming for a 2-page CV. If your CV is 1 page, great. So if you feel that you don't want to, for instance, someone who has a master's or a PhD, it's not really necessary for you to include your grade 12, even if you see this one has an honors, even if you have your degree, it's very optional for you to include your grade 12. Nonetheless, you can include it if you want to. So you can just say the 2010, the years, you can just put in the years there and the school that you went to and the qualification or the level underneath, and then your second, which will be your degree. So from these years, you went to this university and then you did this, okay? And then now, in 2019, you went to this university and you did this. You did your honors. And also please note that if you have obtained distinctions, it will be worth your while to mention them with distinctions. And also, only on your highest qualification will you list the modules that you have completed in that year of study. And if you did have a research topic, then you can include underneath here. It's important for you to include your research topic if you have done one, because this shows, research takes a whole year. So that shows commitment, and that shows that you have written communication skills and verbal communication skills, because in most instances, or in some cases, you have to present your research. So yeah, that's basically it. Education is very straightforward. You just have to make use of the reverse chronological. Grade 12 is optional. You list your first qualification below. Above it comes the next. Above it comes the next. If you have, if your highest qualification is PhD, then here you would have. Then here you would have PhD, you have PhD, and then if you can just mention your research topic underneath the qualification. So this would mean that if your highest is a PhD, then you wouldn't have to mention the subjects. It would just be like that, and then your PhD and your research topic. And so education is very straightforward. And yes, like I said, remember to include distinctions if you had any. Even if you had them here, you include your distinctions. And also, what I just wanted to say that, you see, the requirements is degree in human resources management, okay? So in short, it can be degree in HRM. So here, when you list your qualification, it's also important to write it in full as human resources management, because sometimes you can say become honest in HRM, and then sometimes companies makes use of ATS, that is applicant tracking systems, to make the first screening process of the CVs. So if you write HRM and in the advert it says human resource management, it will not read. So you might fail, also you might lose points based on that. The next section that we are going to do is called practical experience gained during the degree. Now this section is closely related to the education section, in that you must state the practical work that you have done in your time as a student. Now I do know that there are some institutions, for instance, in your undergrad that do not have any form of practicals, and if that is your case, then you can leave this section out. You can leave it out. There's no need to include it then.
However, if you have done, because I know it goes from institution to institution, some institutions for the same qualification, a student might have exposure. However, in another institution, a student might not have the opportunity to engage in such. So if that is your case, you did not have the opportunity, you have your degree as your highest qualification, and you didn't have any practical experience, then you can leave it out. Okay, so now I have examples of what one can include. So for instance, I know that HR student in some institutions, in their honors level, they did go to the CCMA to observe both the conciliation and arbitration settings. Okay, and I also know that geology students also in their honors way, depending on on where the institution is, they did go to areas that have mines to study, for instance, geology. And I also know that, for instance, BSc students, they do a lot of practicals. They go into labs and they mix chemicals, or they open a lizard and check, they say they want to check the heart or stuff like that. And I also know that BA students do go into the university's theater from time to time and to rehearse and do all of those things. And if you can see my last bullet, attended and actively participated in the team building activities at a team building orientation session in our honors class. So that is not directly linked to your qualification. For instance, it's not the same as doing practicals, like for instance going into labs and mixing chemicals, because that would be a module under a module. This one is not under any module. However, it is exposure, because and you can include it because you've gained a type of skill by going to the team building orientation. So you did learn about team building. So it means, going back to the advert, you are a team player, or you know how to be a team player, and then you possess qualities of working in a team, and you understand the dynamics around that, and you can work in teams. Okay, so that is it for this section. So the purpose of this section, it's not about the roles that you did, it's only about the skills. So which skills have you gained as a student, in your time as a student? So this is what this section is all about. And again, I must stress, if you don't have any practical experience, you can leave it out, and do not stress. You have other sections in the CV where you can actually prove that you are a fit candidate. So do not despair. Another section, we have the relevant skills. So the relevant skills also is important for you to match with the advert. As you can see, I've highlighted here good communication skills, as well as English under requirements, English, and the Microsoft Office requirements. Okay, so under the CV, you can have relevant skills, and then underneath you can just subdivide them. You can have language, and then that would be you can read, speak, and understand and write English. If you are also learning, like for instance, another language, maybe you're learning Xitsonga, French, or Afrikaans, you can just put it in there and say, you are currently learning how to speak or read, and also speak about your proficiency level. Okay, and the next one, you can just say computer, because they have that you must be computer literate. So you can put computer skills in there, and then you can just say you possess advanced or proficient knowledge of the MS Office. Also note that it's MS Office as it is in the advert. Because remember the ATS, which is the applicant tracking system, which must match the keywords. So if you write Microsoft Office, it will definitely not give you a point there, and you can write in brackets what you know specifically regarding the software. And then underneath, I put in communication. I put in communication because here they say working with committed and highly qualified people who come from a wide range of areas. So meaning that you must have good communication skills. Okay, so now you can just explain. Guys, I know every one of us have done group assignments during our times as students. So you can just say you share, if you were the leader, if you were once a leader of a group assignment, you can just say you chaired and coordinated it. And yeah, you can talk about the other things that you did. For instance, if you were not the leader, but you coordinated the slides, you organized the slides, you made sure that things run smoothly, you made sure that the assignment is done, you made sure that the assignment is printed and that it's submitted, then you can put those kind of skills under relevant skills. Okay, and also here I've highlighted with a different color your driver's license. I know it's not here in the advert, but if they do require it, you can just put it under your skills as well. You can just put it under your skills as driver's license and the code that you have. So, and also, if you have, for instance, if an advert, you must just, guys, it's all in the advert. You are guided by the advert. You see what the advert wants. For instance, in other adverts, they might say you must be able to speak publicly and all of that. So you can write that you have presentation skills. You can write that you have presentation skills and also give examples. It's very important for you to give examples of when you presented in school, or if you presented in church or a political party, you were, or not necessarily present, but have done public speaking. And I must also mention that if you are going to write about the roles that you have played out in a religious group or a political organizations, to not include their names, to not include that, for instance, I was the youth leader of ABC Church and I did this and this and this. You must just say, I was a youth leader and I did this and this and this. Do not mention the names of the church or the names of the political parties. But do mention the roles that you think will be relevant for the job that you're applying for. And that's basically just it with skills. Just keep it short. Do not write long sentences. You also don't want your CV to be heavy on the eyes. You want it to be light, and you want things to be very visible. And another section, guys, we have the achievements section. This is where you list all your achievements, all that you have achieved as a student, and maybe after graduating. This can include both your personal and your academic achievements. For instance, if you have been awarded a top student certificate in a certain module, you can list that. If you have increased your results from a second year to third year, or if your results have increased from your undergrad to your honors, or from your honors to your master's, you can also highlight that. If you have done a research project, Okay, you can also include that, if your results are outstanding, you can include that for your research you obtained this percentage. And also, personal achievements, like if you have won a 5K marathon, or even if you didn't win it but you ran it. If you have lost weight, you have been exercising and you lost a lot of weight, you can put it in there, because it shows that you are somebody who is health conscious and you care about your health, and that would mean less sick leave. I know it sounds bad, but yeah. So just include also, if you're part of sports, if you've won men of the match or women of the match, or your sports team has won against another team, or they've won the provincial, all those things, guys, you can just put them in there. Okay, guys, last but not least, we have, before the referees section, we have the professional registration. Now, professional registration includes any student organizations, chapters, or committees. So, for instance, if you we're part of, a student chapter, you can include that in, and also include the registration number as well. Okay, and yeah, that's just it. If you're part of any student organization, you can also make mention of it in your CV. And lastly, we have our referees. Now, this is pretty straightforward. You need to include 3. Firstly, you include their name, their relation to you. For instance, they're your supervisor, where they work, the address, workplace address, the telephone, as well as their email address. And also, please note that if you have, for instance, graduated maybe a year or 2 years ago, and maybe you're currently not pursuing your studies, I would recommend that you maybe once a year email these referees just to say that, hey, I'm still job hunting and I've put you as my referees, and maybe attach use your lectures. And also there must be in reverse chronological order, so meaning the last person that you were in contact with, or the most recent that you were in contact with, or that you have worked with, can be at the top, and then the others follows. And I think I also forgot to mention this as well, for relevant skills as well as for the achievement sections, you need to start with your most recent. We are done with our CV, and it is 2 pages long, and it's very important to get all the very important information on your first page. But sometimes it's just not, it's not that simple, because in this instance you had to include things like the modules that you have completed or that you have done. So as hard as I could, I tried to get the skills in the first page, but that cannot happen. So this is just fine. Remember, the max page is 2 pages, and we have managed to keep it within the 2 pages. So here is your personal details. Here are your personal details, the personal profile, and then here comes your education section. You can just wipe out, your high school. It's not really necessary, but if you want it there, you can just leave it. Like for me, I feel like I want it there, so I'm just gonna leave it. So you have your education section, you have your practical experience that you gained during your studies. Also here, you must it must be in reverse chronological order. For instance, you see here, I started with in our honors class. Okay, so the top is honest. So yes, you must start with, your highest. So going down. And then here you have your skills. Here you have your achievements, also must be in a reverse chronological order. And then here you have your referees as well, must be in the reverse order. Okay. And that's it. That is your CV. And I also know that I advised that a CV must be written in third person voice, but sometimes it can be difficult to write in third person voice. And if it is not possible, then you can make use of first person voice. I know equally in the skills, sometimes it can be difficult to write in the third person voice, so you can use the first person voice, but always try your best to make sure that it's in the third person voice. And remember here, if you have a professional registration, then you can just include it here. If you don't have it, anything that you don't have, you can remove it, guys. If you don't have professional registration, you can remove it. If you feel like you don't have any achievements, you can remove them. And another tip that I can give, because now you'd have more space, then you can expand on the relevant skills. Also, if you have more relevant skills that are related to the job that you're applying for. If there's none, then you leave it, guys. A CV, if your CV is one page, don't you even feel bad. That's how it's supposed to be. If your CV is up to here, literally up to here, then it's fine. It's fine. You submit your CV, you pray, and you wait. If you also don't have practical experience, you cut it out. Remember, a CV is a customization. So you have a wide range of varieties that you only take the ones that, in this case, you have, and or the ones that you have that are relevant to the job that you're applying for. And yeah, that's it, guys.
Okay, guys, so that is how you draft a CV with no work experience. So now I have a few tips that I'd like to give you. One is that before you submit your CV, please check it for any spelling or grammatical errors. Sometimes it can be difficult for you to evaluate or check your own work, especially if you have been looking at it for quite some time. So I'd suggest that this is the only time you can involve a friend or a family member in your CV to help them, to ask them to check your CV on your behalf, check for any spelling or any grammatical errors. And yeah, because sometimes it can be very difficult for you to see the errors if you are the one who wrote them, or if you have been checking for some hours or some time. And the second one is, guys, do not include your pictures in your CV. Don't. Pictures are for social media, unless you are applying for a modeling or a job where appearances, it's very important. However, if you are applying for anything other than that, do not include your picture. Leave it out. It's just going to take space either way. And remember, for a CV, we are aiming for a 2-page CV and not more than that. So those are my what I had to say. I really hope that you learned something from the video, and that if you have any questions, you can comment down below. I'll respond as soon as I can. And also, don't you forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And yeah, please look out for my next video or our next session. I'll see you there.